There are many video games, movies, blockbusters where huge monsters level cities. They move around city blocks, smashing buildings, destroying skyscrapers, and really leveling everything out. So there are really a lot of movies nowadays and a lot of video games where you just simply get to destroy a city. Now, if you always wanted to do that, you have a board game that actually does this. Players control monsters trying to level and completely destroy a city. The city is not a human city, it is hypothetical, the secret base of Dr. Spotnik. There is an evil mastermind in place using this location as their headquarters, and they're trying to unleash their plans for world domination. So you're doing humanity, a goodwill if you want, so by destroying this secret base. Players around the table control monsters. Each player is taking the control of one of those huge monsters. Think of King Kong, Godzilla, the real big monsters, and you're playing in real time, so everyone is rolling their dice, trying to apply their symbols and their effects and move around very carefully around the city and smash the buildings and inflict enough damage on each of those targets so that they can level buildings down and completely wipe everything out. But what is really important here is before you move into the Rampage phase, where you do all this nice and cool smashing and battering and leveling buildings out and completely destroying everything, you need to really think and carefully discuss with your teammate monster players where you're going to move, which location you're going to try to take out, because you need to be very careful where you move in or where you end your location, because in specific location and specifically in crossings you can get a lot of damage from the turret buildings, because yes, the buildings are not neutral and just waiting for your hits so that they can be leveled and destroyed. Some of those have turrets and guns on their tops, and they're firing at you if you roll specific symbols on your dice. So you need to be very careful to avoid such, let's say, hot zones and try to stay out of harm's way as much as possible, and on the same time move around frequently to inflict a lot of damage. So, smashing buildings, leveling out cities, and completely destroying everything, controlling huge monsters. This is really interesting, very fun. Let me show you how it plays. Welcome to Monstrocity. In this epic city smashing game, evil genius Dr. Spotnik has hidden the secret lab somewhere in the city. What we have to do, as players, we have to assemble our squad of giant monsters and smash the villain's buildings, crush his defenses, and foil his evil plans for world domination. This is a real-time, fun co-op game where you get to move your different monsters around the board, smash buildings, destroy them, so that you can really bring Dr. Spotnik's evil plans to Rambles. So let's go and see how the game is set up, how it works, and how we play Monstrocity. So first of all, let's familiarize ourselves with the components. The game is gorgeous. It has all these 3D buildings and 3D elements together with very nice minis, laser printed engraved dice, and excellent top-notch production value in my opinion, but you can see for yourselves. So let's start with what we see and what we find in the game, together with the basic rules of setup. What we see is the game board, which is divided in 9 big city blocks. The big city blocks are the ones that have the greenish background. This is the grass. In general, this is a 10 by 10 grid, the whole city. There are small pre-printed dashed lines where you can see that, for example, this is one spot on one of the city blocks. Then this intersection is another spot, this is another spot, this is another spot, and there's a whole row that goes all around the main board, creating like a framework. So in general, there is a 10 by 10. If you look closely, you can see in detail all the spaces. What we do is we have to, first of all, pre-assemble all these buildings, but these are going to be done only once. It's very easy to assemble. They just come apart like that. You pre-construct them. This is a good quality material. We made an unboxing video for the game. This is the top and this is the base, and you can easily put them together and you don't have to worry about things falling apart or anything like that. So we find 24 buildings. These are divided in 3 categories. We have the turret buildings, which are the ones with the red tops and bases, matching bases. The red color indicates that they're going to accommodate weapons on them. We have the common buildings, which are the gray ones, pretty neutral. And then we have the special buildings, which are the ones with the pink top and pink base, and have some special abilities depending on if you're playing the advanced or not game. The only special building that plays a matter in the main basic game is the city hall, which actually is one of the ways to get one of the 3 stars in order to show how well did you progress destroying the city. If you destroy the city hall, which is always in the center city block, gives you 1 star. But I'm running ahead of myself. I'm going to tell you later on how you get the points and how you win the game. Let's see the rest of the materials. We have 4 gorgeous minis, each of those representing one gigantic monster. Players are controlling those monsters, and we are trying to smash the city and destroy it. The reason for that is because the city accommodates the evil Dr. Sputnik, so don't feel that you're doing any wrong or killing people. You're just simply destroying his secret base. All these minis look gorgeous. Then what we have are the monster player boards. Each player is going to take one of those. We have Max Horn, which actually is this one. I mean, each mini has its respective player board. The material is quite good actually. It's a linen finish, so it's top-notch quality. So, Max Horn, Bobzilla, Tortoiseshell, and I have in front of me here Furious George. These are the basic sides. You can play in the enhanced mode where you flip the board and has this enhanced icon, but I'm going to explain this at the end. So here is one of the monsters. I'm going to be handling Furious George for the remaining of this video. Then you have the police station, which is here. It has spots for police cars. These are these nice plastic minis. You fill all the spaces with one of those minis. Keep in mind that you start taking them apart out from the left, so from the right to the left. So first we're going to take this one, then that one, and as we proceed to remove those and put them on the board, a higher number is revealed, all the way up to 3. So that's the police threat, which comes into play later on. So you begin with putting all these police plastic cars here. This is the retail version, so everything you see is what you get from the box on the shelf. Then we have the city, the main city board, which is this one, is actually tracking the city threat level. As we progress, we're going to go into details and explain this further down the road. This is the exclamation marker. This is a round marker. We play 5 rounds. Each of those have a specific number of phases. We're going to go into detail and explain them. And we mark each phase by moving this icon, this counter. Then we have this fantastic laser engraved dice. They're really good quality, colored with good illustrations, and you can easily tell apart the different icons, which we're going to also cover in a bit. What we do is each player is taking one of those master player boards with the respective mini. You put your health marker all the way to the full potential. Keep in mind that the monsters are asymmetric. For example, Tortoiseshell has a lot of health, but he's very slow. Furious George is a bit of a middle ground, and they play differently and also have different special abilities we're going to explain later on. What you also do is you put this marker here all the way to the fully charged rage meter. This is a rage meter. You can think it of like a boost ability when you charge it by giving it bumps up the track. When it's full, you can use it whenever you want and apply the special ability of your monster, and this is really cool. Next, what we have is 3 different type of decks. First of all is the deck with the Retaliation Cards. These are the payback of Dr. Sputnik. This is the evil Dr. Sputnik. Let's have a closer look. And we resolve these cards by inflicting different things on the board. This is how Dr. Sputnik is counter-attacking us to our efforts to smash his secret base. This is Maggie. These are reinforcement cards. This is an ally, our coordinator, and she's giving us boosts and bonuses. And these are event cards. Have this back. and there is actually some things that are going to be spawned, mainly those obstacles, and we have a spawn of event on the end of round 2, 3 and 4. So this is what this exclamation here shows. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to assemble all the red turret buildings with the respective weapons. You see that they are different. For example, we have plasma cannon here, and you need to match exactly what goes where. The rulebook indicates very easily what is what. For example, in this turret, you're going to put this type of building with this decoration, you're going to put this weapon, and so on and so forth. In this one, that one. In the generic basic game, this doesn't matter because all of the turrets work the same way. They apply damage, which is actually indicated here. We're going to cover it in a bit. But in the enhanced game, they also do some additional things, and that's where they come into matter and importance, what is actually carrying its building. Keep in mind that only the red buildings are the turret buildings, that they have weapons on their top. So let me explain how we set up the main board, which is very simple, and it can be done in a different way each time, giving a versatile and different modular board each time and a different challenge. So we start by locating the city hall, which is this one with the flags. We put it in one of the 4 spaces of the main central board. Keep in mind we have 9 city blocks, the greenish, and each of those have road sections around, and there is also a large road section around the main board all the way around. So we find and locate the city hall, and we put it in the center in one of those 4 spots. Then we take the 8 turret buildings, which are with the red top again, and we start by placing the first one in this section wherever we want. Then by covering all the rest of the blocks, we put 1 red building in each of those green city blocks. Wherever we want, there is no problem. We choose where we're going to put it. The only difference is that there are 8, so one of the 9 will not have any, like this one, any red building, so no problem. When we finish, we start including this one common building with the gray top, and then we fill with 1 gray building all the locations, all the city blocks. There will be a couple of common gray buildings left, and then we start putting them randomly wherever we want. Keep in mind we cannot put 2 turret buildings in the same location. Okay, this way we make it more spread and more balanced. And the last thing we do is, remember, we have our city hall with a special building with a pink top, and there are a couple of more, and we can put it wherever we want. And again, in the main game, there is no difference, so the game gives us flexibility on where to put what. The next thing that you need to take a note is there are these spawn icons with this spot here. Each player picks, we're starting from the youngest player, picks one of the locations, and he or she puts their monster in one of those. It's one here of the camera, one on the corner, and one on the top, because it's quite a big board. And we put all the monsters around the main city board on the specific spawn locations, which are going to be used later on as well. And we are ready to go. Keep in mind that each player takes 4 dice, which he or she will be rolling all the time. We put our rage meter all the way to the top, our health track goes all the way to the top, and we need to take 15 damage tokens, which are these simple but very useful and effective damage markers that they're going to be going on the top of the buildings as we inflict damage, and they actually do a pretty good job sitting there holding the damage, indicating that this building, for example, has now 2 points of damage. Each player is going to take 1 round overview, which shows each of the 5 rounds here how it's placed. It has these specific phases that they go with this sequence: the spawn phase, the police phase, the retaliation phase, the rampage phase, and the cleanup phase, so that we can move to the second round, and so on and so forth. And last but not least, depending on the number of players, we have a pretty good balancing, picking the correct card to indicate what is the health point for each building. For example, if we're playing 1 or 2 players, the health point of the target buildings, the ones with the red top, are 8, so they need to take 8 damage to fall. The special buildings, the one with the pink top, have 7, and the common, the one with the grey top, have 6. As you can see, if we play more players, this number increases, so that we can have a good balance depending on the number of players. So we pick a 4-player game, so we use this one. Next, we proceed to starting the game. So, as I explained, this is a pretty straightforward, fun real-time co-op game. We do the phases by sequence, and everyone is looking forward to go actually to the main phase of Rampage, which is the phase where all the players roll together their dice, creating a real fantastic real-time effect, applying their dice results and trying to smash buildings and do damage. So the game comes with an app with a timer that you can download for an iOS or even Android. So simply you have this timer, which is quite cool, where each of those rounds has 2 minutes when it's the Rampage phase, not the whole round, just the Rampage phase. And in these 2 minutes we keep rolling our dice, trying to apply the effects and do as much damage moving our monsters, attacking, and so on and so forth. So this is pretty cool actually. So moving on, let's see how the game flow is. After we've done the setup, we're ready to go. The gameplay is very simple, and as I mentioned, we go through 5 rounds, and each round has the same specific flow. With the city concealing Dr. Spotnik's secret base setup, your monsters stand ready to become the last line of defense against Spotnik's plans for world domination. With the help of fellow genius Maddie Newton, which is our coordinator, we try to unleash our monster's wrath and destroy his secret base. So Monstrocity, as I said, is a co-op game played over a series of 5 rounds, and all the players will work together as they attempt to level the city before time runs out and Dr. Spotnik escapes. Each round is divided into 5 phases. The 5 phases are the spawn phase, the police phase, the retaliation phase, rampage phase, and cleanup phase. So let's cover all of these phases with a couple of more words so that you get a good feeling of how the game plays. We start with the spawn phase, which is always done first. During this phase, if your monster is not on the board, you need to place it in one of the spawning positions that I indicated before, the ones with this symbol here. So if you're off board, you need to enter the board by placing your monster in one of those 4 spawn positions. Starting with the youngest player and moving clockwise, each player places their monster on the board. If your monster was killed in the previous round, before spawning it, you have to reset the health track again to its full if it was damaged, and you have to restore the health to its full potential, but you don't get full rage, you just start with 0 rage, and that's it. Then, after we have done the spawn, keep in mind that you're not going to be out of the board all the time, so you can skip this if your monster is already in the board and is doing damage and active. We move to the police phase. All the players play the spawn phase and all the players play the police phase. All the phases are played simultaneously by all players. Again, this is a co-op game. Now, for the police phase, what we simply do here is during the police phase we have to spawn a number of police cars. Remember those police cars located here? Depending on the number of players on the game, in the intersections that they are here. For example, if you look carefully, you can see that there is a siren symbol here with a number 9, a siren with a number 7, a siren with a number 2, etc. They're just spread around the intersections. So, during this phase, we have to include, populate all these intersections with X amount of police cars, where X stands for the number of players. We're playing a 4-player game, so by starting this round, we need to take 4 from the police station. We always start from the right top, the rightmost spot, and from the bottom one, if they are 2 on the same spot. So 1, 2, 3, 4. As you can see, there is a number of 1, so we always care for the higher number. If it was like that, it would be like that, then the higher number will be 2, which means the police threat will be 2. But let's say now we're here at police threat number 1. So what we do is we start by checking all the siren symbols, and we start inserting these police cars, which actually are corrupted cops. That's why, because we're the good guys here. Nonetheless, we're monsters, but we're good. And we start checking the police, the siren symbol with the number 1, which is on the top left. It is unoccupied, so we go and place 1 car here. Then we go and locate number 2, which is actually here. So it is still empty. It's the beginning, so it would be empty. We put number 2 here. Number 3 is going to go on the respective 3 section, which is here. And number 4 is going to go on the number 4 siren symbol, which is actually in the bottom corner here. You cannot see it. It's all the way to the bottom right. So I'm putting it here so that you can see. Right. Now, we are going to do exactly the same thing every time. So if, for example, this number 3 is destroyed and we need to spawn again 4 cards in the next round, we're going to find 1 populated, so we don't do anything. We're going to find 2 populated, so we don't do anything, but 3 is going to have a gap. So our first placement is going to start by the gap. We always start from the lower number going to the higher number. That way we always include police cards wherever there are gaps, starting from number 1. Now, this is a police phase, and it's concluded by spawning the police cards. Keep in mind that various cards and effects may require you to spawn additional police cards during the course of the game, and this will follow exactly the same procedure like I just described to you. Again, important number is the police threat. It always indicates the police threat, what is the number, the higher number. So if it was like that, it would be 3, and that means that we only check the higher number and the police threat would be 3 here. But we will need to have placed all these police cars starting from number 1. I'm just putting them randomly now, all the way to the different spots. Okay, so that's done. That's the police phase concluded. Then we move to the retaliation phase. This is where Dr. Spotnik pays back and counterattacks. So what we do here is we're going to resolve a number of cards from the top of the retaliation deck, which is this one, equal to the number indicated by the city threat level. The city threat level is indicated by the position of the threat level marker on the city board. The higher the city threat level rises, the more retaliation cards must be resolved and the more damage the turrets do. Let me show you up close how this works, and this is the city threat level board. We start by having this marker on 1, and while this is increasing, the city threat level is increasing. I'm going to describe how this is done, the different things happening on these icons, but ignore them for now. All the way till 9, we have no cards indicated here. Means at this stage, no retaliation card will be resolved. But as soon as we move to number 10, you see that for this complete row, wherever the marker is on this row, from 10 all the way to 18, we need to resolve 1 retaliation card. If the city threat level is all the way to 35, we would have to resolve 2 retaliation cards for each of those steps. And important is that the damage the turrets do, depending on where the marker is sitting, is increased all the way up to 9, 1 to 9. The damage of each turret is only 2, but if you're here on 35, the damage of each turret, each building with the carries turrets, is 4. So potentially, if you're in the middle, you're going to take 4 on an intersection, and you have 4. Here we have 3. There is no turret building here, so 1, 2, 3. Here is going to take 3 times 4. If the marker was here, 12 damage if our master was sitting here, for example. But we're going to explain this later on too, so don't worry. This is it, the retaliation card. We just have to check where the city threat level marker is and apply those number of cards as indicated on the row next to the marker. The cards, as you can see, they just say different things. For example, monsters lose 2 rage and repair 2 X damage on buildings starting with turrets. Wherever the card says X, that means that the amount is the number of players. So if we're playing a 4-player game, 2 times X means 2 times 4, that means 8. So we'll need to repair 8 damage on different buildings starting with turrets. So if there were damage here, this would be removed, for example, from all the way from the turret buildings, and if we didn't have any more turret buildings, then we start removing from the common buildings, etc. There are different cards doing different things, so I'm not going to cover them all, but this actually is pretty nasty. It's Dr. Spotnik making his counterattack against us. Actually, he goes first. Then, after the retaliation card, we move to the rampage, and this is the fun. This is where our monsters unleash our wrath on the board, and we try to destroy as many buildings as possible. You're seeing this board from top view, but keep in mind that all these buildings are 3D, and they give a real nice 3D element, together with all the police car minis and the different height of buildings and the different color and type of buildings. They give a very nice feel and 3D element to the view and to the aesthetics of the game, and everything is popping up real nice. So what happens to the Rampage phase? This is a simultaneous action phase where all the players start rolling their 4 dice together, all of them. This is a real-time game, and resolving the results on our dice. and we're going to explain what its result does, and this is the core of the fun of the game. But keep in mind that this lasts for exactly 2 minutes based on our timer, and as long as we resolve and apply the phases of and the results of our dice, we keep rolling them again and rolling them again and applying all the results, trying to move a lot and do a lot of damage to the buildings. This is our goal. So, speaking of results, let's see what those dice actually do and what the results mean. So before, let me provide you with a very important rule. So before you start rolling your dice, each time you have a free movement. So you can move once. For example, this guy, Furious George, can just make 1 movement and then roll the 4 dice and apply the effects. And then when you finish applying the effects, you can again move 1, have a free movement, and then roll again and then apply the effects. We keep doing this all the way till the timer runs out for the 2 minutes duration of the round. So coming back to the results of the dice. Regardless of what you rolled, you have to always keep in mind that the things that you resolve from your results first, and with no exception, are the city results, which is actually this turret. It indicates a turret icon in one of the 6 results of the dice. It's a turret. So if you get a city or a police icon, you have to resolve them first. So if I roll 4 dice and I have 3 sirens, 3 police icons, I have to apply the 3 police icons and then move to the last dice to resolve it. So what do the city dice do? These are pretty nasty actually. If your monster is in a range of a turret, then you reduce your monster's health track by the city current turret damage. A turret is considered to be in range if it is located in a city block adjacent to a monster, and if your monster is at an intersection, then it could be adjacent to up to 4 potential city blocks and have up to 4 turrets targeting them. If your monster is not in range of the turret, they reduce their health track only by 1. So if I roll this, 2 results of those, and my monster is out of range, I will just get 2 damage. But if I'm in range, I will get the amount of damage indicated by where the marker is sitting. Remember this level and this board? If my marker is sitting here on the 25, meaning the city threat level is all the way up to the 25, we go and read all the row and we see that each turret does 3 damage. So if I roll this result, then I will be targeted with 3 damage by the turrets in range. Quite nasty. The next thing that we need to resolve also is another bad thing for us, the monsters, is the police. When you roll the police icon, you must reduce your monster health track by the number of points equal to the current police threat. So for each result of this, I need to... What is the highest number on the police station? The police threat? 3. I will lose 3 points for each of those rolled. But if there were more, if it was like that, I would lose only 2 for each of those. So if I roll 2 of those, I would lose 2 plus 2, 4 health points, meaning that I have to take my health counter and reduce it 1, 2, 3, 4 down, getting injured like that. Now, since we got all the bad things out of the way, let's see what the good things do on our dice rolls, and this is what it starts getting real nice. One of the 6 icons is the crossed swords. This is a combat icon. You may deal 1 point of damage to a target adjacent to your monster. You place one of your damage counters, one of those black cubes here, on the target, if the target is a building, and you place the damage counter on its rooftop. If you inflicted enough damage to completely destroy the target, then you immediately remove that target or the building from the game board and you place it next to your own player board as a reminder to check how we raise the threat on the end of the round in the cleanup phase. Any damage counter on, it become available to be used again from the next subsequent attacks. So, speaking of adjacent, it is important to understand what is adjacent and what is not. Our Furious George mini is sitting here. He has adjacent orthogonally, horizontally and vertically, 4 spots, meaning I'm going to use another mini to indicate what is adjacent to George. This is George, and this spot is adjacent to George. This spot this spot, it has a police car, so I cannot step here, and this building here. So it becomes pretty obvious that, for example, if let's put those minis in the board, I like them a lot. So it becomes pretty obvious that if this building was here, George is adjacent to 2 of those buildings and 1 police car here. So for each of those results, you inflict 1 damage. You can either select to inflict it here, or here, or destroy the police car, which is only 1 health point value, so you just remove it if you destroy it, and you put it back on the police truck, starting from the higher number, covering it all the way in reverse order. Now, as you can see, these buildings have a spot to accommodate for a lot of damage markers, as I indicated. Depending on the number of players, this is a turret building, means the top, so it has 12 health points. That means that if it takes this type of damage, I don't count now, I'm just putting some of them randomly, on this building, then this damage is destroyed. We take all these damage markers again, so we can use them, and take this building and put it next to our monster, because we're going to use it at the end of the game, at the end of the round on the cleanup phase. And we continue rolling the dice and playing. Let's say that I resolved all of my dice, then again I take them in my hand, I roll them, and I can decide to move 1 free before I start applying the results of my dice. Very, very simple, and this keeps going till the 2 minutes timer runs out. So, coming back to the dice results, another interesting result is the rage meter, which is actually this one. This is again one out of 6 sides of the dice, and you remember our rage track that goes all the way up. So if this is reduced by each result of those, if we had 2 such results, we can move this 1, 2. Why do we want to move this rage track all the way to the fully charged? Because whenever this is fully charged, we can expend it all, so that we can apply the special ability of the monster. In this case, Furious George can jump up to 3 spaces away, and landing, when it lands, he deals 2 area damage. So let me demonstrate. He can jump 1, 2, 3, and let's say this police car was not here, and he lands here and he does an area damage. An area damage is something different than the normal damage. That means that he or she inflicts 1 point of damage on each of the adjacent spaces, including diagonals. In this case, he would deal 2 damage here, not 1. The ability says 2 area damage, so 2 damage here, 2 damage here. Let's say we had the police car here, so if he dealt 2 damage here, you only need 1, so you completely remove it. Nothing to put here, nothing to put here, 2 damage here, and 2 damage here. And that's it. This is the area of damage, but this is a special ability of George. I need to keep rolling rage tokens and rage results on my dice to fully charge it so that I can use it again down the road. Keep in mind that different type of monsters have different special abilities. Monsters charge, run in a straight line, and deal 4 damage to an adjacent target. This is like what you would expect from Max 4. The Bobzilla, Roaring Blaze, deal 3 damage up to a range of 2 in a straight line. And finally, Tortoiseshell, deal 2 area damage, similar way like Furious George, but he doesn't jump the way that Furious George is jumping. So, the last result I need to explain, the last dice result I need to explain is this power energy symbol with the blue thunder, the blue lightning. So this is the energy result. Fortunately for us, this is a joker, and it's 2 out of the 6 sides of the dice, which is really good, because for each of those results we can choose how we want to apply the effect. We can either increase our monster health by 3, so I use this to get 3 health back for each of those icons, that is. If I want, if I had more than 1, I can apply one way the other one, the one thunder and the one energy, and in a different way the second energy. It's up to me. So one of the 4 options to use this is 1. Take 3 health back. Second, attack as if it was a combat, like that. So inflict 1 damage in an adjacent space. Then increase your range by 1 as it was this result. So this is a joker for this one, so I can get, if I was here I would get 1. And the last thing is I can move my monster. So let's say I was here and I rolled, I was really lucky, and I rolled 1, 2, 3, 4 energy symbols, the best I can get. This is a real good result. Okay, 4 energy symbols. So I can expand them in this way, and I was here. One of those will be 1, 2, 3, for example. Another one would be, the second one would be I move 1. The third one could be I get 1 rage, and the fourth one could be inflict 1 damage. It's up to me how I want to spend them, and it could be the same way or the different way how I resolve each of those energy dice. Keep in mind that you can never move diagonally, you only move orthogonally, vertically and horizontally, and you can never enter, pass through spaces which are occupied by buildings. So I cannot enter this building or pass through this building. I cannot enter or pass in a spot where another monster is, so this is like a block for me. And similar way, I cannot enter or pass an obstacle. Police cars are considered obstacles, and these are also going to be considered obstacles, and I have to destroy them first. But I'm going to explain them later on, and we position them on different spaces on the crossings. So again, this is how the phases of the results of the dice are resolved, and keep in mind that when I resolve them, again I keep rolling them until the timer of 2 minutes runs out. When the timer runs out, all of the players are doing this the same time. All of us are rolling our dice and trying to resolve them quickly and move a lot and do a lot of damage. Don't ignore moving. Moving on this game is very important, and you'll soon realize that you need to stay out of crossings because you're going to take a lot of damage, because as we said, whenever a city icon is resolved, you take 1 damage for each adjacent turret. What is adjacent for the turrets? This is what we didn't explain. So if I'm here, I have no turret, let me put it here. If I'm here, I have no turret building adjacent, because there is only 1 turret building on each of these city blocks, the green 4 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Here I have none next to me. Here I have 1, which is this one, because the turret building is attacking all of the spaces. So here, 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 all of the crossings around here, 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 and all of the middle locations around it, here, 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 and here. So it's pretty nasty. But in this position, I'm only going to be attacked by 1 turret building. If I'm here, I'm going to be attacked by 2. 1 from here and 1 from here. If I'm in a crossing, I would be attacked by up to 4. 1, 2, 3, and if there was this one here as well, 4. So this is the worst possible location I can be sitting on, because I can get up to 4 attacks from 4 turret buildings, and the damage is going to be increased as the city threat marker is going down the track. So keep in mind, this is very nasty, and you need to be very careful about it. Last but not least, when the Rampage phase runs out, when the 2 minutes runs out, we go to the cleanup phase. So the cleanup phase is really simple. What we do first of all is we adjust the city threat level, this marker here. What we do is we check how many buildings we destroyed next to the master boards, the master player boards. So for each common building, for each building like that, what we destroyed, we raise the threat level by 1. For each turret building, the red one, like this one, or special building like the pink one here, we raise the city threat level by 2. 1, 2. And keep in mind that if the threat level marker comes to a rest on a number spaced with Dr. Spotnik on it, like this one, like that one, etc., where Dr. Spotnik is illustrated, you must immediately draw and resolve the retaliation card. An additional retaliation card is going to be drawn and resolved, because we landed on rest, the marker rests on one of those spots. Retaliation cards must be resolved immediately, while reinforcement cards are given to the player who best resolve them based on the type. Because when we land on a Magi symbol, we take a reinforcement card. Reinforcement cards could be different good things for us, deal X damage to a target. We have 3 different types of reinforcement cards. We have the instant cards, which have this lightning symbol here. These cards can be resolved at any time during play, even during the Rampage phase. Once resolved, the cards are discarded. We decide which of the master players takes this card, so you make best use of it. Another one is the one with the cloak. This is an ongoing. These cards can be activated at any time during a round, and their effects last until the end of the round. Once resolved, these cards are discarded. For example, here we have 1 additional speed. Speed is how farther away we can move each time we make a movement. So this is 1 for Furious George. So if he had this card for this round, that means that he would be able to move 2, for example. 1, 2. We can never move diagonal. Okay. And the last card is the one with the pin. These are spawn cards. These cards can only be resolved during the spawn phase. Once resolved, these cards again are discarded. For example, this one, deal X damage. X stands for the number of players. If we're playing 4-player game, 4 to any 1 building in the city. So boom, I can drop 4 damage whatever I want, and I keep this in front of me to use it whenever I want. So this is the first part of the cleanup phase. The second part of the cleanup phase is to spawn events. So if we are on the round 2, 3 or 4, we have this exclamation. That means that we draw one of these cards and we resolve it. These cards enable the game and Dr. Spotling to spawn obstacles, which are pretty nasty. For example, if you draw this card, spawn X force field generators. While they are in play, all buildings are immune to damage. Spawn spaces 15, 16, 10 and 9. So the shield generators, the energy shield generator, are those tokens. So we need to take 4 because we are playing 4-player game, and we need to locate space number 15, which is, for example, here. I put 1 here. Then number 16, which is I don't see, which is all the way to the top here, and number 10 and 9. That means number 10 and 9, 10 is here and 9 is, again, I don't see, here. Okay, good. So when we have to spawn things, if we cannot spawn because something is located here, we spawn it 1 location closer to the city hall. Okay, so it would be something like that. Now, when we resolve this card, we let it in play to remind us what the shields do. As long as these are here and they're not destroyed, they need to take damage to be destroyed, we cannot put damage on these buildings. Ouch. It could be that we have more than 1 event cards in play if we didn't destroy all the 4 in this round. So another card actually creates the roadblocks, which we put those blocks here, which prevent moving from intersection. They're pretty nasty. And we have the National Guard, which spawn X number of tanks, and these tanks, the police damage is increased by 2 whenever we get police damage, so they're pretty nasty too. And the last one are the helicopter drones. These are energy choppers. We spawn them again, and while they are in play, monsters cannot use or recharge their rage ability. Again, pretty nasty. So these are special spawns that happen through the event cards. So 3 of them will be in place depending on which cards you draw. And when we finish with the spawn event, we check for the win or lose conditions. If this was the 5th round, or if we manage to destroy all of the buildings of the city, then we move to the game end. Otherwise, we begin the next round with the same sequence. So let's see the game end. Depending on how well your squad or monsters perform, you may unlock victory stars. To achieve a complete victory, you will need to have collected 3 victory stars. Victory stars are earned based on the specific milestones that you may have reached during the game. These are 1 victory star if you destroyed the city hall, so we take 1 victory star if we destroy the central city hall special building. We gain 1 victory star if we destroyed all buildings on the game board, which is quite difficult, and we gain 1 victory star if we manage to finish the game before the end of round 4. So depending on how many stars we collected, this is how well we performed our wrath and our destroying of the city. If the round counter reaches the end of the round track and you have earned less than 3 victory stars, then your mission to foil Dr. Spotnik plans for the world domination has failed and the wily mastermind escapes the city. Now the game comes with a different variant rules, so you can have a turn-based mode or you can have a competitive team mode where one team plays the referee and places the obstacles and the other team is and creates the city, and the other team is playing the monsters trying to destroy the city, and then they change position. But the most important and interesting thing is the enhanced mode. All the monsters have an enhanced mode from the back of the board, which is pretty nice. There are different things here that they apply. For example, you can see that there is a number of different amount of damage that the monster performs. So in the enhanced version, which has this icon again, the back of the board of the master, when you do damage, you do 2 damage. Again, there are 2 numbers with a slash for the movement. It has 2/+2. That indicates that the first number on the left indicates the number of spaces your monster moves before you resolve an energy dice, and the number on the right indicates how many spaces your monster may move for free before you resolve any of your dice that you have rolled. Again, the monsters have a special ability that is enabled through the rage, discharge, this boost, but they also have another ability, the roaring blaze, the monster's charge, the turtle power, etc. This is a rage power, and this is a special power. Bobzilla is heavy, Max Horn is fast, Tortoiseshell is regenerate, and Furious George has Trumble, which is on the back of this board. Now, these abilities give special attributes to our monsters. The Trumble, for example, when you move in a space occupied by a police car, you destroy it. So when he moves here, normally he needs to destroy the police car to move here, but when he moves here, he destroys it because he has a Trumble effect. So immediately destroy and put it back. Heavy ability means that you are immune to a pushback attack from laser pulse cannons. Fast means that you're immune to freeze attacks, and regenerate means you increase your health track by 1 every time you roll all 4 of your dice. So each time you roll your dice, you get +1 health. Now, the extra abilities are good, but the game needs to be more hard and more challenging, and this comes through the different type of guns. So, the rocket launcher, anti-air, anti-speed, monsters with the flying or fast attribute in range of this turret reduce their health track by an additional 2 whenever they resolve a city dice during the Rampage phase. So if you're in range of such a building and your result is a turret, a city result on a dice, you take the damage indicated by the threat level plus another 2. These are pretty nasty. Then you have the mortar, which are those here. Heavy duty, monsters with the heavy attribute in range of this turret reduce their health track by an additional 2 whenever they resolve the city dice during the Rampage phase. We have the plasma cannon, they have the pushback ability. All monsters in range of this turret are pushed away from it by 1 space each time they resolve a city dice during the Rampage phase, so it's laser and they push back the monsters. Pretty difficult to reach so that they can attack adjacently. And the last one is the freeze ray, which is this one. All monsters in this range of this turret roll 1 less dice during the Rampage phase. Ouch. Pretty nasty. Enhanced mode also brings this deck here. Whenever we destroy one of the special buildings with a pink top, we open and resolve one of these cards. Some of them give us a good benefit, some of them have injuries, etc. So it's another thing to keep in mind. And for sure you will agree with me that the enhanced version of the monsters and the board and the enhanced rules are really challenging, and you really need to be careful where you position your monsters, and be sure to be out of harm's way as much as possible, because you're going to take a lot of damage. If your life gets all the way out, you're going to be removed, and in the next spawn phase you're going to come here and fully charge health wise. So this is how you play Monstrocity. Now there you have it. This is Monstrocity. I even like the logo, what they've done with the name of the board game. It's really fun because actually it describes that you're going to have a lot of fun trying to move around and completely destroy everything around you by leveling buildings and smashing out everything. Very fun. Very highly enjoyable, the real-time element. I'm a bit of thinky and cautious when I play real-time games because I like the real-time fun element of the games, but sometimes this is done, you know, on top of strategy or choices or meaningful choices and meaningful things that you do on your turn. Here, you have to really plan your movement and think wisely where you want to move, where you're going to sit and rest, and how much damage you're going to try to inflict depending on where you're located. It's not just rolling dice and smashing, you have to really think how to preserve your health, try to take less firepower from the target buildings, and try to unleash a lot of wrath and destroy a lot of buildings. Very cleverly done, with not a lot of rules. It's very simple. I think it's easily played with small kids. You can easily explain to them how some of the cards work or some of the obstacles, but even without it, it's really simple. You just roll around the dice and unleash hell on this secret base. On top of that, there is a quite thinky, okay, you're not going to burn, it's not overthinking, but it's quite interesting the way it uses the positioning, the placement, the different effects, the different type of buildings. And if you play the enhanced version where you flip the boards and you have the special abilities of the monsters, which I highly recommend after a couple of plays, then you're going to see that there are a lot of choices and you're going to think twice when you move to the around in the range of specific buildings, because they do additional damage to you and you need to be very careful how you take them down. You need to have a plan. So overall, very fun. I really enjoyed Monstrocity. I highly recommend it. So check it out if you have this opportunity, and look for Monstrocity on your gaming shops or around you. This is a very fun game and I really recommend it. Monstrocity.